seriously robust, wet, and plenty of lightnings. Hey! Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Charles Abels, local photographer in and around the Prescott Valley area. And I hope you're hearing that. I want to take a few moments though and say thank you for those that watch my channel, my presentation. We're going to do a quick blurb down below if you don't mind. If you love my channel and you're a first-time viewer, subscribe down below. I'm afraid I've been guilty of trying to photograph that perfect lightning. This year has been a serious, robust summer for monsoons, the likes of which I hadn't seen in, say, I would like to say in a few years, but I'll say actually probably in a couple of decades, considering I've grown up in this area. But it is much appreciated. The countryside is green. Trees are green. It has been, well, frankly, a beautiful summer with monsoons. Having said that, though, today's topic isn't about the monsoons and mine trying to catch the perfect lightning shot, or what I would interpret as the perfect lightning shot. No, today we're going to have a little bit of fun. Recently, I have acquired what was back in the days considered a Eastern Bloc camera, you might say. This particular camera that I have here is a Fed 2A, manufactured between 1955 and 1956. Now, if I recall my reading, the Fed 2 series were manufactured between 1955 to 1970. And then, of course, the Fed company in of itself, I believe, continued with other variations of their cameras all the way into 1994. Now, the one thing I neglected to mention is this particular camera was manufactured in Ukraine. And from what I remember reading about this particular camera, the Feds, they were primarily marketed for the Soviet bloc countries, or Russia. So, some highlights about this camera. I cannot track, or I don't understand, the lens manufacturing on these Feds. Now, I believe this particular lens is what they call the Fed lens. It's a standard Fed lens. It's a collapsible lens, as you can see. It is a 50 millimeter lens at a f3.5. The focus ring is set to metrics. So you have to understand a little bit about your metrics. Now I cheat, I don't go with the 2 point blah, blah, blah. I just know this, 1 meter equals 3 feet. Then I just do my math, round up. The focus, you have your focus right here. And it does lock into place. You do have your viewfinder. And what I neglected to mention also is this is a rangefinder camera. And also what I neglected to mention it's an all mechanical camera. So you have to understand the basic exposure rules, exposure techniques, because you're not going to have a light meter on this to tell you what exposures to go to. It does have the winding knob here to advance the film, or the advance knob. It does have your counter here, film counter here. You have to adjust that when you load it up. We have here the shutter release right here. So after you wind it, you press that shutter release. It does have your film speed knob here. Now the trick is you got to make sure that you cannot adjust this until after you advance the film. Remember that. When you advance the film, so as an example, when I advance the film, don't worry, there's no film in here. I advance it, you might see it turning right there. It locks into place. It's ready to fire, but this is where you determine what shutter speed you want. Now mine is set already at 1/500th of a second. Otherwise, when you work with this, you pull it out, you turn the knob to the appropriate shutter speed that you want. Really simple. Right here is the film rewind knob that allows you to rewind the film back into the canister. Now this little knobber here is really remarkable. I mean, you can aim in with your viewfinder, and it's like a little telescopic or a little telescope, to where if you want to bring a picture in before you focus it, you could do that. So as an example, I got it where I have my camera, my film camera there, the view saying much closer, and then I adjust the focus, and if I had film I would take a picture, but I don't. So nevertheless, I would focus and boom, take that picture. Then of course you have your standard base plate down here. Now it's got two, I'll just say screws down here. You can see them, it's two screws. You have to loosen up both of them in order to pop the back off in order to load the film. And it has its tripod mount right here. Now, you know that this tripod or this camera was primarily manufactured for, I want to say the European market, because it's pretty standard in Europe, but it's got a 3/8 inch tripod mount right here. Now don't ask me what it is in metrics. I just know that if you wanted to buy an adapter for this, you could buy a 3/8 adapter, screw it in, and then you can mount it on your 1/4 inch 20 tripods, which is common in the United States. So, as a camera goes, it's really a remarkable simple camera. I neglected to mention one thing, the rewind. When you rewind back into the film canister, we have right here a knob, and it's a bit of a trick, whereby you have to push it down and then turn it clockwise. And when you do that, then you're able to rewind. It disengages the gearing in here that advances the film. It disengages that advancement to allow you to rewind into the film camera so you could pull it out of here and develop it. Have to remember that. Push down and clockwise and lock it into place. Once you're done, then you go ahead and turn counterclockwise and it springs back up into position and you're ready to load another film. Really pretty mechanically simple. Well, let's not beat around the bush. I haven't fired a roll of film in here yet, and you all are going to be able to see what I shoot today, because while I run errands, I'm going to photograph with this camera today. And I neglected to mention also, or I forgot to point out, but the f-stop, or the aperture, the little knob is right here, down below, that you turn to adjust the aperture. Now, right now I got it set to f8. I'm going to lock the focus in place. And you just sit there and with your fingernails, just lightly adjust the f-stop. We're going to take a few moments. And I'm going to load this film. Load the film. I'm using Ilford Delta 400 Professional. It's a 36 exposure black and white film, and I'm going to use this roll to photograph with. So let's see if we can load this booger up. We got our screws here. Turn. They're opposing to each other. That's really cool. And then push, and you can see that the back here is coming off. Looks really, really cool. Well, here, let's see if we can get us a basic, and if not, I'll close it up. Hopefully it's in focus. But that's the inside of this camera. This is a take-up reel as you advance. The roll of film will go right here. And so we're going to see what we can do. Now, one thing to note is this will and can pop out. Makes for easy loading. Alright, this is where you slide it. There's a little tab in here, and you slide it into the tab. Come on. There we go. Then once you get it into the tab, there's a hook. Fish hook, you might say. That hooks into the sprocket notch. Really wicked, isn't it? Pull it out to about as much length as you need to get it into there. Don't forget you got the take-up reel post to slide it on. There we go. Get your film in there. There you go. And I will keep that into there. Okay, so I'm holding the roll of film and the take-up reel into place. I hope you can see that. I'm going to bring it in close because I don't know how this camera is focusing. And then once you're done, grab your base and very gingerly and carefully get it into the notch. You do have that spring that holds the film into place. Push it into place. Make sure it's seated. Turn your locking knobs. And done. Instant presto wacko. Pretty cool, hey? And then, of course, once you get it into place, wind the film. I keep the lens cap when I do this, but I generally will wind it up to make 2 winds. And now, we're going to play around with this. I'm going to open this up to f3.5. That way it allows as much light in here as possible. There we go. Beautiful. And then I'm going to sit there and adjust my shutter speed. Well, in this particular case, I'm going to go all the way down to I'm going to use 1/25 of a second. And we're going to see what we can get with our first picture. Hopefully there's enough appropriate light in here in this room that I could pull it off. Okay, focus, rangefinder, looks good. I'm going to take a picture of the camera now. Are we ready? Nice. Probably come in blurry, but hey, who cares? It's the first shot of my camera in this presentation. Pretty awesome, isn't it? So, I'm ready to go out there. I'm going to clasp my lens. Come on. There we go. Collapse my lens down. It's loaded up for bear. And I'm ready to go out there and run errands and take photographs with this camera. And hopefully we'll see if it works. I'm down at Thane Park in Prescott Valley, and I just got done shooting the last photograph in the Fed 2. So later on, early this afternoon, I'm going to be developing the film in Caffeinol or instant coffee, and we're going to see how the photographs turned out. I certainly hope you enjoyed this presentation. Some highlights when I went out yesterday to photograph with the Fed 2. It is clear that we do have not really anything terrible, but we do have some mechanical issues with this. Something that a good old CL-aid or clean, lubricate, adjust couldn't fix up and tighten up for this camera. It's one of the things that I noticed in this is as I advanced the film, it had a tendency somewhere in there a gear was missing and it wasn't necessarily advancing the film. The actual film advance knob was actually free spinning in there until it locked and engaged and then advanced the film. That was clear with the negatives where you could have like 1, 2, 3 negatives and then a blank. So the 36 roll exposure that I photographed or used in this camera ended up producing about, I think it was, give me a quick minute, I could tell you the number here real quick. So the 36 exposure that I had in the camera, actually, by the time it came to the end of the roll, I only managed to take 26 pictures. I'm not necessarily disappointed. I'm not really surprised. It is an old camera. It's what, 63, about 66 years old, 67 years old. For a 67-year-old camera that I truly don't know the history with. In other words, I don't know when it was CL'd or if it had ever been CL'd. I thought it done remarkably well. Having said that, I'm quite pleased. As I said, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'd like to thank those that had subscribed to my channel. I'd like to thank those that even comment. So if you have a comment about the Fed cameras or the Fed 2As, 2s, feel free to comment down below, share your experience. And I want to wrap up this presentation. Catch you later.